Guys, thanks for hopping on. We'll get going here in just a minute. I'm just going to give it another minute, let everybody hop on, and we'll get going. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. I'm just going to give it another 20 seconds or so, let everyone else join, get settled in, and we'll go ahead and get started. Appreciate you being here. All right, guys, good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for this Team Nation webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about structuring a winning season. Start fallback with a strong plan your staff and team will buy into. As we all know, new seasons bring new players, new staff, a new team dynamic, new mindsets, maybe even new schemes or systems. Take control of the new and get everyone on the same page quickly. Josh Franke, Toronto Red Knights head football coach, and Riker Matthews, Team Nation Pro, share how they manage the change and ensure their team's work is one. Josh Franke has served as the head football coach at his alma mater, Toronto High School in Toronto, Ohio, going on 5 seasons. Prior to that, he has served as the head football coach at Newton Falls High School, Edgewood High School, and Middlesex High School. Coach Franke attended Otterbein University as an undergraduate and completed his master's degree at Fort Hays State University. 3 out of the past 4 seasons, his teams have made appearances in the OHSAA state playoffs. Riker Matthews is a pro player for the Canadian Football League and former NFL player. During the offseason, you can find Riker assistant coaching at his former high school. As part of the Football Brain Trust, Riker has developed plays along with team and player notes for the Team Nation Sports Playbook Library, and his contributions continue to shape the future of Team Nation's learning app. Really appreciate these two being here. Everybody, thanks for joining us. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to these guys. We can go ahead and get started. Riker, thanks, man.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for that great introduction. So coaches, before I share my screen here, so typically kind of how this is structured a little bit. Typically we would have Coach Franke, go into it first and talk about his program and, some successful things that he does, and then how he has been implementing Team Nation along with that. But Coach Franke had some success at a 7-on-7 tournament today, so he is on his way back from that tournament. He's on here, but he's from his phone, and so he'll be back onto his computer here in the next 10 minutes or so. So we're going to restructure it a little bit first, and I'm going to go first. Like Jake said, I played professional football for the last 6-7 years. Team Nation, I'm a part of Team Nation now. I love what it's doing for the sport, and we're trying to do for learning what Huddle did for video, and we want to change how football is taught and how coaches are able to allow their players and give their players a tool to actually study their content. So that's what we're doing here. So I asked Coach Franke if he would allow me to be a player on his Team Nation account. And so, like I said, typically we do this at the end, but we're kind of flip-flopping it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and it'll actually be the player's side and what they will see on their phone. So like I said, I joined his team as a player. And so he told me the couple lessons and couple quizzes that he'll be covering with you guys that he implements with his players. And so real quick, while he's getting all that set up, I'm going to go through it as if I'm a player and looking through it for the first time and kind of realizing what's going on, playing the games, playing the quizzes, going through the lessons, seeing what is being taught to me before I even step on the field with Coach Franke for practice tomorrow. That's kind of the idea of this webinar, of what and this session that we are talking about. Where you as coaches, you're trying to maximize every little last minute you have with your players or without your players when they're at home and you're at home. And through Team Nation, you're kind of able to capitalize a little bit more and a little bit more. So I'll share my screen here. Like I said, this is going to be my cell phone that you see. And it'll be me as a player in Coach Franke's team. So let's see. I believe I shared that. I believe it's going. Also, as well, you see that? Also, just so you guys know as well, I believe in this Zoom, there's kind of a questions and answer column down at the bottom. If you guys have questions or comments or anything like that that you want us to think about or answer, it might not be towards the end because we kind of might get in some conversation and whatnot. But towards the end of what we're doing, or maybe we'll see it while we're kind of talking, we'll try to answer those questions and those comments and address those comments. So something pops up in your mind, don't hesitate to throw it in that question section. So without further ado, here I am in the Team Nation app. I'll click back into it in Coach Franke's team. So I am Riker Matthews. I didn't give myself a position, but you can see how the rest of his players have their positions. Some have started adding their photos and whatnot. Kind of buzzing through this. Here's some of Coach Franke's plays. I don't want to click into it too much, give away his fun, I shouldn't say fun, but his winning schemes. If he's winning at these 7-on-7 tournaments, I don't want to be giving that stuff away. So kind of buzz out of that, but you have that full playbook there as well. And then this is where they kind of go into the gamified learning section of what Team Nation does and what allows you to do as a coach and allows you to give your players when you're not around. So the Master the Playbook section is the playbook part. We're going to be focusing more in the Master the Game, the green at the bottom, because that's where the lessons and quizzes are stacked together. So I'm going to click into there. As you can see, Coach Franke has quite a few quizzes in here that he already has his players working on and studying to get better, kind of give you some different ideas. He has the gap techniques, motions, pass plays, power, pre-snap recognition, different things like that. And then as far as lessons go, his counter, coverages, motions again, pass plays, drive, hook, mesh, as different tag concepts, it looks like. So the couple that we're going to go through first, I will click through lessons. He has 2 lessons that he's going to show you guys as coaches, as lessons that obviously he's pushed to his players so that they can learn his concepts before they show up to practice. I'm just going to buzz through them because obviously I'm not Coach Franke and don't know his coaching points, his lingo, anything like that. And then when he gets on here, he's going to come from the coach's side of Team Nation and show you how he built it. He's going to go through the video with you guys, tell you about the details. That might be where some of your questions pop up for him. So I'll go through the lessons first, the couple lessons that the first lesson that he was going to go over with you guys is counter. I believe, wait, hold on. No, power. Sorry. I apologize, Coach. Power is the first one that he's going to go through with you guys. And so I'm going to click down here, the power lesson. He's going to begin the lesson. Oh, I was clicking through it. Sorry. So click back to the beginning. So this will be his first slide of power. So he's saying Pitt equals Pittsburgh, NFL team, power to the right. Purdue, NCAA team, power to the left. So this is where he's just telling the kids what their power plays are. Clicks to the next one. This is Pitt is their board, it looks like, I would imagine. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to say I know this stuff. Like I said, he'll be able to explain deeper, but it looks like that's his board picture for Pitt. And then that's his Purdue board picture. And then they'll go on to the next one. And like I said, this is me as a player going through this. So they're going through this. Here are power rules. Then he has the power rules for quarterback, power rules for his running back, and his power rules for his fullback. And then I click on to the next one. Here are some of our basics, right? Double team on the front side of the point of attack. And then he has a few others. Like I said, I'll let him go through those when it's his turn to share. So I'm just kind of clicking through this. Now it's talking about how they block power versus the even front, what their responsibilities are. Here's a picture of their power and how it's blocked against even front. And then he looks like he found a video of power being ran by Alabama against A&M against the even front. So me as a player, I can look at this. Oh yeah, okay, I know what power is now. Let's watch it again. I want to kind of grasp the concept. Okay, yeah, that looks like Pitt. Cool, that's a great power run. They'll watch it all the way to the end. It won't let me click onto the next slide until I watch the video completely. So your players are going through it. And then he moves on to the next one. Now power versus even under front and their responsibilities. Then the picture of looks like Pitt is being ran there. And then their power versus odd and their responsibilities, and then their power versus odd drawn up for them. And then he has a video clip of them running the power and how he wants it to be ran. And so me as a player, you can see I can't move on until I finish watching the video. The video's over. Now I can move on. QB power, now it's just going into a different concept of it. Then drawing up Q Pitt. And then here's the full play. Pistol King, right Pitt. So, and so that's coach's lesson. As you can see, a lot of his players have gone through it already. You can see they're all at 100%. So they're studying this, before they're showing up to practice. I'm assuming that's when coach put this out, was on an off night. Hey, Coach Franke, I'm glad you made it back.
We're back, man. We sped a little bit. No accidents. We're good.
Cool. Well, I'll just keep buzzing through this. Chime in if I say something stupid and I'm not saying the correct thing with your concepts. Cool. So that was the power lesson. Now we're going to go into the drive lesson, pass play drive. So starting from the beginning, here's the drive combination. Backside number one has occupy safety. I'm an offensive lineman, so I'm not even going to pretend like I understand what this stuff means. I'm waiting for the pass pro to pop up for me to chime in. So like I said, he's telling his players what they're doing, their drive combination, what it means. The drive route equals shallow route. Then he's showing a picture of what drive right with 3 wide receivers is. Another picture from 2x2, and then he throws in a video clip, and which is awesome, by the way, Coach. I love that you're throwing these clips in there, because we all know that this film is so useful for these kids nowadays to be able to actually see it done.
Absolutely.
So yeah, they click into that, they see how exactly what that drive concept is. Here it is zooming in on what that backside one has, which is the 8. Here's what he's talking about. The wide receiver has the fade going through it. Number 2 has the dig. I'm just going to kind of buzz through this because you're going to go into a little more detail with that. Then at the end, shows the different options around it all. So those are the 2 lessons that coach is going to go through. Once again, the kid will be able to see, who else is taking that quiz or that lesson and going through it, making sure they have the right answers. And, you can add custom questions. I don't know if you knew this, Coach Franke, but through those lessons, you can actually add custom questions to go along with it. So they have to be kind of integrated with the lesson as they're learning it. And so if you were to add some custom questions in there, it would start taking that into consideration when it comes to their percentages. So if they get a 66%, then they know they have to go through the lesson again to make sure they answer that one question wrong, to make sure that they understand what you're trying to get across to them. So those are the 2 lessons coach is going to go through with you in a second. Like I said, I'm just showing you what the players are going through. The two quizzes now that coach has made for you guys. The first one is the motions quiz, correct, Coach Franke?
Correct.
Yeah, so I'm going to buzz through that one. So what we have here for this first quiz is the matching game. So ultimately they'll just swipe right, swipe left on whether they match. And the idea is they're trying to move as fast and as quick as possible with this and get as many correct answers as they can, right? And you're able to put film, video, pictures, like here we are, crack motion. This is the hand signal of what crack motion is. I'm going to guess yes. Ooh, good guess. And so you can put all this in here. This is awesome. Your hand signals in there, so the players have to go through. Coach makes an H by a hold up of the arms of the H. I would say no. So you have some different ways, kids learn in all sorts of different ways. So you have some video of that in there. You have some words in there. I'm just going to start kind of buzzing through some more video. Here's a picture of what emotion can be. I don't know if that's the beyond motion. Some more words. So like I said, Coach Franke's players are buzzing through this orbital check motion. They have to know that, and they're trying to get it as quick as possible. And they're going. They have 60 seconds to finish this quiz. And the idea is they're playing fast, right? That's what football's about is, if you're thinking, you're already too slow. And so like, this is awesome. What Coach Franke's doing with his hand motions and his motions and his hand signs that go with the motions. He's kind of mixing it all together so that they can see it and know it and not have to see it and then think and then wonder. They're able to get these mental reps over and over and over super fast. Hope maybe slower at first, but as they go, they'll get more and more correct, quicker and quicker. Then at the end, they'll be able to see what they got right, what they got wrong, how long it took them. Then they can hit continue, and they can either play motions again to, fine tune their skills, or they can move on to something else if they're trying to work on multiple things at once. So for our sake, we're moving on to drive. Me as a player, I would have played that until I got like 30 in a row correct and not one wrong. I'm sure a lot of your guys' players are the same, where they're probably perfectionists and want to make sure that they're helping their team win. So that's the idea. So now we're moving on to counter, correct, Coach?
Yep, counter.
Okay, counter quiz right here. So here is a different way of doing the quiz section. So what Coach did here is he actually did an ABCD quiz where he gave multiple options for them to look at. So the call is Cincy. If linebacker 14 walks up to blitz, who has him? And so they have to go through and say, okay, it's actually going to be the left tackle. And then who is the pulling guard on, or who is pulling on Cal? And they have to go through, right guard, right tackle, wrong, going through. So hopefully I'll get one of these right. I'm just kind of clicking through them. But it's just the different concept of the quiz that they can go through. Who should be the kick out player on Cal/Clemson, 5 technique on the left side. So they're going through this, and what you could do as well is you can add video in there as well, not just pictures, if you're wanting to, maybe quiz them on the motions that we just went through. You can actually have the ABCD quiz on the motions as well. Add a little bit more depth to it, but really it's how you coach. If you want them to know it by a snapshot, then great. If you want them to know it by snapshot video, great. If you want to know snapshot video and text, then great. Every coach teaches different, every player learns different. So this is kind of how it all works within Team Nation. Coach Franke, props to you, man. These are awesome quizzes. It's awesome to see you're utilizing the platform and really maximizing it for your players. So that is kind of how it all works. Like I said, I'm going to let Coach Franke here now kind of go through it. I'm going to ask him some questions because I'm just student of the game while he's going through it. And like I said, if you guys have questions throughout as well for him, Jake is here as well, I'm here as well. We can help facilitate that, help kind of, I might stop you here, Coach Franke, and say, hey, we got a question here about your counter, or
Sure.
Different things like that. So without further ado, Coach Franke, I appreciate you letting me switch little spots with you and show your app first.
Sure. So first off, I want to thank everybody. Like they had mentioned, I literally just stepped out of a car and into our coach's office after a long day of 7-on-7 in 102 degree heat. I feel like out on turf. So it's been a long day. We were there. We got there at 6:30. So bear with me. We made it back. We're back here. The kids are still on the bus on the ride home still. So but we're here. So anyway, when I started Team Nation, when they approached me about starting Team Nation in November, it was something that, as a teacher myself, I'm sure a lot of you guys out there are teachers, it was something that kind of just made sense, especially as much as I see kids on their phone. It was just something that I was like, I think I could really make this work. And if you need anything throughout this whole spiel, this is my information. You can shoot me an email. That's my cell phone. You can shoot me a text, give me a call. I'd be happy to help you. Even if you just want to talk some ball or some of the things that we're doing, that's fine too. Again, happy to help. And I can flash this back up towards the end if you need it. Some of the complications that we face. So at Toronto High School, we're Division 7 school in the state of Ohio, which is like a single A school in most other places where we have an enrollment. I just looked today of 107 kids or 107 boys in the high school. So really small school. And the thing with the state of Ohio is our regulations are, in my opinion, kind of rigid. Number one, I got 30 kids on my roster. And mostly, literally every one of those kids plays another sport except for one kid on my roster. So 29 kids are playing basketball, baseball, track, wrestling. A lot of times I have 2 kids right now that are playing summer ball and they're traveling down to with PBR down in Georgia and they're all over the place. So in the off season and in the summer, it's kind of like herding cats and trying to get everybody on the same page. And not only that, when the OHSA regulations come into play, we don't have spring practice in Ohio. It's not allowed. We're allowed to practice with up to 7 players, but it just really makes it difficult. How can you do much with 7 players? And especially when those 7 players are playing other sports. So it's difficult. Once June 1st hits, we can do 10 practice days in June and July. But that's for all sports. So literally our boys, most of the boys on our team, most of our skill players had a basketball camp that they were at all day Sunday, all day Monday, and the morning of Tuesday. They came back last night and then they're on the bus this morning going to 7-on-7. So these kids are kind of just pulled every which way in June and July as far as all the sports that they play. So it's really hard to kind of get them all on the same page. Once August 1st hits, we have 12 practices until we kick off, and that's it. So our kickoff this year is August 18th. It's on a Thursday night, and it's one of those things like, hey, August 1st, first mandatory practice. We have the acclimation period days where it's 2 days helmet, 2 days shoulder pads, helmet, 5th day full pads, and then 6th day you're final out contact. So it just makes it very difficult to get everything in that we want to get in. Prior to that August 1st or that August 18th game. And then you have to add in the fact that, our players, if they're anything like your players, have a really short attention span. We're literally talking minutes at a time to where, if you go into a 25-minute dissertation on how to properly run power, they're gone at 5 minutes. So it makes it really hard for them just kind of pay attention through those talks and through the teaching moments of the game. So here's what we used to do. And if you're anything like how we used to be, and I'm talking, this has kind of evolved over the course of, I'm going in my 5th season here at Toronto. This has kind of evolved over time. We used to do off-season hall calls, and this was like a chalk talk with our offensive linemen, which we're allowed to do. We get them in the classroom, we draw up stuff, and then the problem with that was, number one, you had to get them all together. Number two, you had the accountability stuff that you had to worry about. You had their schedule you had to worry about. And then on top of it, you had to figure out if they're understanding anything. So we're up there drawing these plays on the chalkboard, but are they really understanding what we're drawing? Do they really know it? So then we started going to all right, let's call Kid up and have him draw it. And it's just, we tried things, and it was like, man, I really wish we had some way that we could quiz guys on what we're trying to teach them. So then we did camp chalk talks, and like during fall camp, we would come in and we'd waste some of our practice time, anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes of our practice time on the board, going over lessons. Here's how you do this play. Here's how you do that play. And like all of you, I'm sure we had some type of install. So every play we had some type of install that went along with it, and we'd go through and basically walk through, and here's how you block it this way, and you got to take these steps, you got to do this. And then we had to teach the hand signals, and we're literally coming in before and after practice to teach hand signals. It was chaos. And you ask yourself the question of, am I taking away valuable time on the field that I could have these kids doing something and actually repping out these plays, or actually drilling these things I'm trying to teach them? And then when we're in season, we're issuing game plans, and I'm giving them like paper handouts, or we're doing stuff on huddle film. Then you walk into the weight room and you see like 4 or 5 of the paper handouts you spent 8 hours of your Sunday doing, laying in the weight room. Somebody just left it there and didn't even look at it. And you're trying to gauge huddle. Are they watching the film? Do they know what they're watching on the film? Are they paying attention to what they should be watching? And it just gets to yourself. I'm sure we've all questioned ourselves. Like, am I wasting my time? Like, I'm spending my whole Sunday away from my family, kind of getting ready for next week's game. Am I wasting my time? Like, are they even paying attention? Are they even looking at these things? So we wanted to find a different way to do things. We wanted to find a better way to do things. So this got us to our summer and fall camp. And this is kind of what we had in mind. We want to focus on drills to improve ability and technique. We want to work on conditioning, and we want to work on getting reps. Like, when we're on the field, these are the things that we want to do. We don't want to waste time teaching things on the field. They need to be doing things off the field that are putting them in that proper position to be successful and maximize our practices. Be as most efficient as we possibly can in our practice time. We want short install periods. If we have to go over anything, we want it to be 5 minutes, 10 minutes max. We want kids to come in June for our 7-on-7 tournaments and know formations, know alignments if you're on defense. We want to know all the adjustments to motions, things like that. We want you to know that, because we don't have time to teach it in June and July. We do probably 6 7-on-7s a summer. Each of those count as one of our 10-day practices. So when you take those away, we have 4 practice periods that we would have to try to put this stuff in. It's just too much. And I'll be honest, and whether you agree with me or not, we run about 130 different formations we have in our playbook. We do not have time in practice to sit kids down and teach them the formations. We just don't have time to do it. It's too much. And do we run all those formations every week? Absolutely not. Like, we might run some of those formations once in the 10-week season, but they still need to know. It still needs to be important if it fits in the game plan. And we're one of those teams. Our philosophy is we're going to formation you to death, but we're going to only run a couple few plays. I think we have 6 run plays and 4 pass plays. But we're going to formation you to death. Make sure you know how to properly line up to what we're trying to do. The only downside of that is that kids don't learn the plays pretty easily, but they have to learn formation. So we don't want to spend time, teaching that on the field. So here's what our practices look like now. When I was up, I heard Coach Campbell speak when he was at Toledo. And one of the things he talked about, which I thought was crazy at the time, and this was probably 5 or 6 years ago, is he said, we do 90-minute practices. He said, because everything after 9 minutes, kids aren't paying attention. You're not doing anything for yourself. And I started thinking about that. And the more and more I started thinking about that, and the more and more I started paying attention to our kids on the field, I realized that he was right. So one of the things that we did to kind of be more efficient and use our 90 minutes properly was if you haven't heard about this, you can get a hold of me. I can put you in contact with our guy over there. We went to go routes for our scout team. If you haven't heard go routes, basically these kids wear these cell phone things around a belt for their scout teams. There's no more scout cards. These kids get to play. And I kid you not, last year our scout team was averaging a play every 33 seconds. So they literally look at their go route cell phone around their waist. They get the scout team play. They line up. They run it. And we got so many more reps out of our scout team. And again, we weren't wasting time. So, I think that kind of goes along with Team Nations. How can we maximize and become more efficient? Monday, we do conditioning, we do an indie period, we do a screen period, inside run, play action, pass together, 7-on-7 pass pro together, team O, team D, we get out of there. 90 minutes. Tuesday, same thing, defensive focus. We'll finish with offensive 7-on-7 and offensive team period, and we get out of there. Wednesday, we do all of our special teams right out the gate. And then we will do like an inter squad scrimmage where it's against the scout team. However, we have markers down with the sticks are out. It's 1st and 10. And you kind of just go over those scenarios. All right, time to run the punt team out. All right, time to run kickoff out. Extra point. Okay, we're going for 2. All your scenario type stuff we'll go through on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we do your typical walkthrough like everybody else. How are our kids learning all of this when they're not doing it on the field? Team Nation app has been great for a lot of things. It's all of our formations are on there, and those kids are on the Team Nation app constantly. And one of the things that Riker didn't talk about is these kids are competitive kids, and they're competing against one another. So those kids will come in and they'll brag about, hey, I'm at the top now. I'm at the leaderboard now. And these are things that they literally and seriously take serious. So, I've had teachers come talk to me because kids have gotten caught in class on their football app going through formations and plays and stuff. But it happens. But that's better than them playing, whatever game they're playing on their phone at the time. We put our plays on there, our hand signals, that we call for motions and our pass plays, and we also do call boards. Any call board signs are on there. Our installs are all on there. So if we're installing power tomorrow, you better be on the Team Nation app going over the power installs today, because the expectation is that you come to practice and that now. It's taking place of the chalk talks and the installs we're having in the locker room prior to stepping out of practice. Then we have the quizzes. One of the best things that I think we're planning on implementing, we haven't done it yet, but it's in our plans, is we are going to be putting in our game plans on Sunday. Sunday night, the game plan will go live on the Team Nation app. And on Thursday, they're going to have to hit, if you're a starter, you're going to have to be above an 80% on the quizzes in order to actually play in the game. And that's something that we're going to require from our kids because they need to be preparing to win. And our kids will do that. They'll buy into it. Like I said, they love the fact that they get to compete against each other on this app. Once again, it's going to require the off the field commitment. But here's what you tell them, dude, get off TikTok for 15, 20 minutes and get on Team Nation. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to just familiarize yourself with stuff. We just had an hour bus ride to Washington, PA, playing a 7-on-7 tournament. While you're on the bus for the next hour, be on Team Nation, looking over your stuff and familiarizing yourself with things. And again, the expectation for us, in order for us to run this, run these 7-on-7s, you need to know all the formations, all the pass plays, all the signals before June 1 gets here. And like they mentioned today, we had some success at a tournament. Guys, I had one senior playing. I ended up playing a freshman corner, and I had another receiver who was a freshman as well playing. They knew all their stuff. And this was our first 7-on-7 tournament of the year. My 2 quarterbacks are sophomores. They knew all their stuff. We did not have a ton of questions today because they're on this app and they know the stuff before we don't have to waste our time on that anymore. I think it's the biggest thing for me. So I'm going to go through some of the examples. Riker showed you on the lessons and the quizzes. I'm going to go through so you have an idea of what it looks like when you build these things. So he took you through power. When we look at power and we're building this lesson, this is the screen you get, gets brought up. Now, some of our power stuff is all run. It's basically an RPO. Like we'll run power, but we attach, a hitch off the backside or something like that off the backside where it's a pre-snap read. If the quarterback likes it, he can take the gift. If not,
Coach, real quick, I think you're still sharing the PowerPoint.
Oh, Thank you for letting me know
I
that.
need to share the, yeah, I don't want to let you get too far.
Yeah, thanks for that.
There we go. We good now?
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. So I have all of our players are tagged in all of our plays, just because, listen, when you're at a school with 30 kids on the roster, you could be playing center one week, and if crap hits the fan, the very next week you might be playing tight end. It's just it's how it is at a small school. So they know all their stuff, and then you start to go through and you build your slides, and you always get the cell phone screen next to it, so you can see kind of what your players are seeing on the screen themselves. So as you go through, you can add a bunch of different things. Now, one of the things I haven't done, but I plan on doing is, especially for our game plans, is a slide narration, where you can literally talk and walk your kids through the slide that you're on. And they can hit it. It's going to be an audio clip. They're going to listen to you talk and break it down for them. So it's no surprise. We have call boards. And I don't think I'm giving anything away, because our call board will have 4 images up there. You don't know which one we're calling anyway. I'll keep that secret in my back pocket. But Pitt is Pittsburgh. Our NFL teams are to the right. College teams are to the left. So Pitt is power right. Purdue is power left. It's very simple. And we do that for the simple basis of, if we have to run no huddle, we have to go really fast, and I'm just screaming plays, they know it. The defense typically doesn't. Or if our quarterback has to audible at the line, that's what he does. He'll change the play, and our guys know it and the other team doesn't. So here's our call board, so they can see, like, all right, this is on the call board. This is what Pitt's going to look like. On the Purdue call board, this is what Purdue's going to look like. And there's been times we'll change that through week 5 or whatever. You guys all have your own things, especially if you've used the call board. Then we have our rules, and I kind of break our rules down specifically for the skill players that are involved, especially on how we want it to be run, what our quarterback footsteps are going to be, or footwork's going to be, what the running back's footwork's going to be, what he should be looking at, and how we want our fullbacks to block us. So we break that down for them, for the skill players, and then we talk about the power basics. So our kids, I think we do a good job here at Toronto of explaining to our kids why a power is a power. Like, what makes this play a power play? So they understand what principles belong to that style of run. So we try to break down the basics for them, so they can be able, if they're watching film, especially as a defensive player, and they're watching an opposing team, like, okay, they're running power right here. I want them to become students of the game. And I think that Team Nation allows them to do that a little bit more better than if I'm trying to explain it on the field. So then we have it broke down. We block everything differently based off of defensive fronts. And again, this is why Team Nation is very important to us, because our power versus a 4-4 is going to look very different than when we're running power against a 3-3. So our kids and our offensive line will make those calls at the line of scrimmage, but they need to know why they're calling what they're calling based off what they're getting and what they're seeing. So it's broke down. Here's the even front. Here's how we're running power. Here's our rules. Here's the other thing too. And this is what I like. If you can go off YouTube, I'll give you a tip here. You can Google download YouTube video, and it's going to bring up this thing, and you're going to throw the YouTube link in, and you just download the link, and you can throw it right into this. So if you go to ad section and you go over here to media, and it's going to pull up right here, you hit add media, and then you can go in and pick where your video is saved at. And it's that easy to throw it in there. So I like to do a couple.
So one other thing with that too, I don't know what computer you're using, but most computers now have hotkeys for just a screen recording too. And you can, like, I know with the Mac, you have a hotkey, and you can actually pick the window, like the size of the box that you're recording.
Gotcha.
And so kind of some of the stuff that we're making, like, I just do a quick Command-Shift-4 and then put the box on the YouTube video, hit record, hit play on the YouTube video, and then it records it and automatically saves it to your desktop. So just another way, maybe you're not on YouTube, or you're on a different platform, or you can't figure out how to get the video off or whatnot, just take a quick little screen recording and throw that in there.
That's awesome. I'm even learning stuff. Look at this. So I like to show our film, and I'll download those clips from Huddle. But I also like to show our kids, college and pro teams running the things that we're running, because they think that's cool. They're like, oh look, Alabama runs this the same way that we do, and that's important to them. So I try to mix up and do a little bit of both. But this is Alabama running power against an even front, and then we break down and we go, here's an under front. Here's how we're going to block it. Here's the odd front. Here's how we're going to block it. And I have a video. This is our personal video of us running. And then I talk about if we're calling Q power. One of our 2 quarterbacks this year that we're looking at is more of a mobile kid. So we're going to probably be introducing some quarterback power this year. And just kind of breaking down the difference for him. And then we have that drawn up as well. We have that drawn up as well. Now, here's the thing with I use the Huddle clips because our stuff's already on Huddle. So you can draw this up through Team Nation as well. For me, it was just easier when I'm creating the lessons and the quizzes that I just screen grab. If you have a snipping tool on your computer, I use the snipping tool and I'll save it as a picture and I'll just throw it right there on it. So again, these are just examples of how we're running stuff. And then, down here, the very last one's like, hey, here's a full play. Here's what a full play looks like. It has the RPO tag on it, everything like that. So that's kind of how you build these lessons. And, he also went through the drive, the drive lesson and showed you that as well. And those lessons there, depending on how thorough and how in depth you want them to be, it's probably going to take you all of, 20, 25 minutes to throw a lesson together. And then once you do that and you launch it, like our kids know, all right, hey, counter is up. Like we're going over counter now, like counter install, like before August 1 hits and we're in full pads, I need to know how to run this, because the way that we approach our practices is we're like, hey, all right, everyone huddle up. We're running, gun left, count. And if you don't know what you're doing, then it's very obvious to us that you weren't doing the off-season commitment that you should be doing. And then we pull you and put somebody else in there. Listen, I have 30 kids. I mean, sometimes that means I'm putting a freshman in there, but our kids, because of that, because of the discipline and our buy-in to that philosophy as coaches, they learn really quick. Like, I better learn my stuff. I better know my stuff. So we haven't had a problem with that accountability. Like you may think. Originally, it was something I thought we might struggle with. I like that. I wanted to show you guys multiple things like the motions, and he showed you the motion quizzes, where you're able to do like the video with the hand motions and things of that. I'm going to quizzes now. So when you build these quizzes, I'll go to the motion one first. When you build these quizzes, it's very similar to a lesson. You tag who you want to see it. The phone still comes up and you can kind of see how it's going to be in their player view. You can add as many options or as many definitions as you possibly want. You could have 5, you could have 8, you have 10, you have just 1. But these options, these definitions are all going to be things that pick up through the quiz. So again, what's jet motion for us? Well, define jet motions when the receiver comes cross formation to the other side. Sets up the slot. And then I did a screen grab from our Team Nation playbook. There it is. And I have a hand signal of what jet motion looks like through the hand signal. This way, the kids are getting it, every which way they can. It's multiple learning styles. You're getting a definition, you're getting the visual picture, and then you're also getting what the hand signal is going to look like. This has saved us because, again, we're not wasting time on teaching kids, what the hand signals look like. We used to have to take like 30 minutes a day going over hand signals. Like, all right, what's this hand signal? Everybody got it? Okay, let's go on the next one. What's this hand signal? And it was just, the kids that know it are the ones that are always answering. The kids that don't know it are just being quiet. And again, you start to ask yourself, am I just wasting my time? The answer was yes. I'm wasting my time with some of these kids. So that doesn't happen through this app, through this Team Nation app. You don't see that as much because you're able to track, and that's the nice thing too. You're able to track as a coach what these kids are doing. So as I see here, this is this week's leaderboard. This is just for this week. Brody Winters, who's a freshman wide receiver, he's at 76%. That tells me that, hey, this freshman's coming in. He may not know anything, but he's working to understand and learn. Ross Dickinson's one of the kids that's battling out for a quarterback. He's at number 2 spot, and that's what you want to see. You want to see one of the kids that are competing to start your quarterback spot. He's the number 2 guy right now. Jace Nett is our middle linebacker. He's at 70%. So yeah, you're starting middle linebacker. You want to see up there because he's the one calling our defense for us. So the nice thing too about this is on a Friday night, let's say that someone gets hurt. We can pull this dashboard up on the sideline and we can say, all right, who's ready and who's not ready. And I think there's times that you think kids are ready and they're not. And we're going to be able to go to our game plan, look at our performance in our game plan for that week. And we're going to say, all right, here's this freshman wide receiver. He's at 76%, but this junior wide receiver is only at 30% on the game plan. Well, guess what? For me, I'm putting the freshman in because you have to know what you're doing. Your ability doesn't matter to me if you don't know what or where you're going. If you can't line up right, you're no use to me, no matter how athletically freakish you are.
Coach, do you ever see the opposite of that as well? I mean, maybe a freshman kid that's maybe quiet that has some talent. Could you see yourself, your senior wide receiver goes down, you go to the board and see, oh, this freshman wide receiver is at 90%. Maybe he knows a lot more than I thought. Maybe we should give him a shot. Like, do you see yourself using it in that way too? Like kind of the opposite way? Yeah.
Absolutely. So, today we're in that 7-on-7 tournament. One of our starting corners had an AC separation. He's out for a week. He was playing corner. Our other corners at a PBR tournament. So then, you're down your top 2 corners at that point, and you're kind of looking down the sideline. And this is the start of game 2. Play 1, game 2, starting tailback, starting corner goes down. So this kid here has never played corner in his life, but we ended up sticking him at corner. And the reason being is because we knew he has been in Team Nation. He knows his coverages. He's athletic. We'll put him out there. He'll be okay. He'll know what he's doing. And he did great. I mean, we ended up winning 5 games and, end up losing in the semifinals. So, and that's with a freshman corner. And this was our first 7-on-7 today. That does not happen if we're not using this app. This just doesn't happen, so again, it's kind of made me a believer. My favorite thing with the quizzes are we put, and like I kind of talked to you already, is we put a lot of emphasis on our offensive line being able to know what they're doing. So when we look at, and I love this app more for my offensive linemen than I did my skill players. So when we're able to grab screen grabs off Huddle, I can highlight players in the screen grab. So when we talk about who the Richard is usually our read guy. We call, hey, 86 is the Richard. 86 is the Richard. That's who we're reading. And again, I don't care if I'm giving away secrets. After like the 4th or 5th time we call it the Richard, you know what's happening anyway. So it's not like we're hiding it. But we identify who we're reading. The quarterback identifies who he's reading, telling the offensive line, hey, don't block it. So once we do that, how do we coach that? So not only our quarterbacks need to know that, but our offensive line needs to know that as well. So again, who's the Richard here when we're running Cincy? So we have the tackle box lined up, and we have a nice shot at the tackle box. And then what you can see is we have different players highlighted as options. So we have the correct player highlighted as an option, and you put him up here. And then you have the incorrect players down here highlighted as options. This forces our kids to kind of think. And, when we're talking playing on a Friday night, and when you start to get the play clock involved, sometimes these kids are having to make 4 or 5 second decisions before it's time to say, all right, this is the guy. So the fact that these quizzes are timed, it makes it even better for me because, again, it's teaching them to identify quickly what they're supposed to do, what their job and responsibility is. So again, and I love this. You can Here we go. Another picture of the tackle box. All right, who's pulling? Who's in charge of pulling? Because our pullers, again, not sharing any secrets, we pull our center, guards, and tackles. We've even pulled tight ends at times. So what that bases off of is what the tackle techniques are. So if we get a 3 technique, our center is pulling and our guard's blocking down. And it just makes more sense to me. That's how we've done it. We've had a lot of success doing it. But that puts a lot of pressure on our offensive line to be able to identify tackle techniques and be able to determine who's going, who's staying, who's blocking down, where the double team's coming from. So again, being able to get on this app and you can quiz those guys on those decisions. One of the problems that we've had is, again, we pull a lot in our offense. We're all gap scheme. We don't run any zone concepts. It's all gap. And what we get a lot of is teams will try to blitz the heck out of us, try to shoot the gaps. So again, we have to be able to identify who has the blitzing linebackers. It's been something that's hurt us in the past. We've gotten a lot better at it because we've coached it and we've coached responsibilities of it. So again, here we have a tackle box. All right, linebackers walking up. Who's responsible for that guy? So for us, it's the fullback. We're going to run a guard tackle trap, guard tackle counter. Our fullback has to step in and break that linebacker up off the power fake of our counter. So these are all things that I think kind of demonstrate the value that this app can bring you, especially when you can get your guys to get live tackle box views from the end zone cameras, and you can see, all right, here's how they're aligned. What am I responsible for here? What is my role? What's my responsibility? That's huge for us. We give our players a lot of freedoms. They're allowed to call things off and they're allowed to change plays and do all that. The only way we get away with that is by having players have a very high football IQ. And listen, today, obviously, growing up in Ohio, we have a ton of kids on our team that are Ohio State fans. And we started talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. And one of our players was like, oh, yeah, well, he learned how to run routes off of Marvin Harrison, his dad. And one of our receivers, it's one of our starting receivers, goes, well, who's Marvin Harrison? And I about fell out of my chair. My point being is these kids do not watch football like you feel like you did back when you were a kid. They're not, they have too much distractions today. They don't have time, or they don't want to sit on a couch for 8 hours a day and watch football like I feel like I did growing up. But with that, they're not going to have a high football IQ, and you have to figure out a way to get them to have to raise that IQ a little bit to where they can be making some decisions on Friday night in the heat of battle and out in the games that are going to affect you in a positive way, not a negative way. And Team Nation's able to do that for you. You're able to, again, help these kids identify and make smart decisions on a Friday night. And the best thing about it is you're not taking away from your on-field practice time. Now we can spend more time repping things out, teaching techniques through drills and hand placement and first steps and all of those things that go with all the specific positions. We can spend more time on them because we don't have to teach the playbook anymore. It does it for you. Kids have to take some responsibility and learn that off the field. So that's where we're at. If anyone has any questions or you want to see anything else, or please let me know.
Guys, that was awesome. It is really, really cool. For me, as someone who's just kind of getting introduced to Team Nation and as a Glazier partner, it's really, really cool to see what you guys are doing. For me as a player, if we had this stuff back when I played, I mean, it just would have been incredible. I love it. So really, guys, thank you so much for taking the time today to come out and share some of this stuff with us, help some of these coaches out and introduce them to Team Nation and what they're all about. I will open it up for questions here. If you guys have any questions, just type it into the Q&A button here at the bottom of the screen. I'll give you guys a minute or so. If we don't have anything, then I'll just go ahead and let Coach go for the day. had a long one. So appreciate you being here, and
No problem, man.
I'll give you guys a minute.
Coach Franke, while we're giving them a minute, if they have any questions, did you ever use any of the like pre-built like play or football IQ stuff at all with your team? Because we have some of that in there that's pretty basic.
We did.
For young kids, it's pretty helpful, I think.
Right. Like, I think we had the different landmarks on the field. I don't know specifically what the lesson was called, but they're different landmarks. Like what's the hash mark? What's the end zone? What's the, what's the sideline? I think a lot of times as coaches, we think things are very common sense. And for some of these kids, especially the ones that aren't watching football all the time and aren't students of the game, it's not common sense to them. It's hard and they don't understand it. I remember my first year as a head football coach. I was 23 years old, and we were running the old call system where it was the 2 back through the 3 hole, and 2 back through the 4 hole, and it was like even holes are on the right and odd holes are on the left. And I had one kid had no idea where to go, and one point I said, do you even know your evens and odds? And he looked at me dead in the face, was like, no, don't know my even odds. So I think that's a great story. I think I learned a lot from that, because you don't realize that some of these kids do not have even close to the background knowledge of the game as you do. So even some of the more simple things that you may think everyone should know, that's not always the case.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I think, like you said earlier, I think nowadays kids don't watch football and just learn the game like we might have when we were younger. And so it's kind of put on coaches' shoulders a little bit to teach them those things that I learned from NFL Network, watching it every day after school for 8 hours, like you said. And so that stuff's good. I don't know if you noticed, we put a few more kind of advanced pre-built stuff in there. So I put one that's like that you might be interested in looking into, like the O-line double team calls.
Awesome.
And so you might call things a little different, but it has like tag, it has Cali, it has car. I don't know if what lingo your team uses, but looks like you guys double team just about every run play. So that might be useful. You can just edit it out a little bit, be your lingo, and throw it in there. So
I honestly think the sky's the limit. Like our receiver coach got on and put different wide receiver releases off the line. Like when you should use proper releases. So if you're getting press man, what are the proper releases here? If you're getting zone, what are the proper releases for that? And really, like I said, the sky is the limit. And I feel like you can almost teach kids a lot more because you're doing it outside of practice. I feel like you always felt rushed to get everything in, where now you can get the educational, the learning things done off the field. It gives you more time to focus on reps and drill work in practice.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, I think I buzzed through that lesson real quick. I think I saw your wide receiver coach put in a clip of, I think it was Keenan Allen doing a release, and it's awesome. I love to see you guys maximizing that, and I'm excited to see how you build those game plans and stuff once the season comes as well.
Trust me, I'm hoping this works a whole lot better than the 20-page handouts I was given every week. So
I have a feeling it will.
Man, I'm telling you, my OCD, watching you go through that, just how it's organized and everything, my OCD was just loving it. And I was like, man, this stuff is amazing. Let me tell you. But guys, we didn't have any questions pop up. So I'm going to let you guys go. But Riker, thanks so much, man, for taking the time and all that you do for Team Nation. And we're really happy to have you guys as a partner with Glazier. And Coach Franke, thanks for taking the time to join us, man. Really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, Coach Franke, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Jake, appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. You all have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, you as well. Thank you.